Hi, my name's Daryl, and I'm in the middle of camping, and every camping trip's kind of a little bit of an adventure, and this one's a new one for me, as there was something wrong with my propane. So we typically power our fridge, our three-way fridge, with a propane and battery. And I noticed, a little bit of a smell of rotten egg coming from the front of the camper. And yeah, that's usually likely that there's some sort of a gas leak. And so I got my face kind of really close to the hose right here, and I could kind of hear it. And it also, with the propane gas was kind of hitting me on the nose a little bit. So I was having a leak. Now, I really didn't know what to do. I guess one of the things that you're supposed to have with you when you're camping is extra pigtail hoses, because these go wrong quite a bit. And it's not a surprise that these go wrong. You're supposed to actually have extras of these and extra regulators, because when you're going down the road and when you're towing, there's a lot of movement, and every time you kind of disconnect and reconnect, these little connection points, they take a lot of hit. They're also outside, so they get rained on, there's heat, so they expand and they can contract. So these things will go wrong. Now this piece right here, this is really a non-serviceable piece. It's meant to be basically replaced. So you should have extras of these with you, as well as the regulator. Now, I didn't have one. Luckily enough, I was camping here, and I was camping with an A-liner friend. Her name's Betty, and we also have Kevin was here with her as well. And yeah, so Betty had an extra hose, and Kevin had some extra adjustable wrenches that I needed to do this project. So let's get into it a little bit. So let's talk about these pigtails. So you want to get basically the same size pigtail that you currently have in place, because you really want it to have the kind of same bend. You don't want to have more of a bend or less of a bend than kind of what your RV manufacturer, your dealer, had set up based on where your propane tanks are and where your regulator is. So try to get one with the same size. Now you're going to notice, first of all, you're going to want to match this. Typically this is color coded. It comes like in green, it comes in black, it comes kind of like a dark green, light green, red, and black. And typically the color coding has to do with, how many BTUs over the course of an hour that this particular connector supports. And you're supposed to keep them consistent. Now, when I was looking at this, I was looking at the PSI that this particular connector or cable supports, and this supports 350 PSI, which matches exactly the one off of my A-liner. So, and Betty had this, and so I'm assuming that this is pretty much the same one. So yeah, green or black, I'm gonna use the black one here. We should be fine, but they both are 350 PSI. Now the other thing that you're gonna look at is you're gonna look at this end. Now if you notice, this connector right here has this like inverted cone. So there's two different types. There's a 1/4 inch inverted cone type connector, and then you have this 1/4 inch NPT type fitting. So you're gonna wanna match that up to whatever's on your A-liner just to make sure you get the right one. Now, interestingly enough, my connector had this fitting on it, which converted it from an inverted cone to an NPT type connector. So my regulator is this, and it's the NPT type fitting 1/4 inch. So Kevin, he actually helped me. We took it, this particular adapter, this fitting, we took it off the inverted cone type, and then we put it on this one, which was an inverted cone, and now it's an NPT type fitting. So yeah, I think you're okay to do that without any problems. So we should be all set with that. Now, one of the things you are going to want to do is, before you install, you're going to want to look at the threads on your existing regulator, and you're going to want to just clean that out. It's best to use some sort of a brush or something to clean those threads out so that it makes a good connection. All right, so before you do anything, we're going to want to make sure that all of the gas is turned off inside of the A-liner. So any of the things that potentially could be using the propane, so your fridge, your stove, your furnace, any of those devices, make sure that those are all off. Once those are all off, then you also want to go to your actual propane, and you want to make sure that you close the valve totally. So then the next thing that you want to do is the offending propane hose, you want to remove it. Now you're probably going to have some sort of an adjustable wrench, and you're going to take that and lefty loosey, righty tighty. So we're going to turn that to the left, and then you can remove that. Okay. Now the next thing we have to do is that we have to prepare this these connectors right here. So as I mentioned, this is the inverted flare type. Now the inverted flare type, you actually don't need any sort of thread tape or thread coating in order to prepare or connect the inverted flare type. It's kind of a compression fitting, so you don't have to use that. But with this regular NTP connector, you do have to use some sort of thread tape. You have to use something that's certified to work with gas or propane. So this yellow thread tape is what I'm going to be using. And so when you apply this tape, it's important that you install it in such a way that when you install it, it doesn't unwrap the thread tape. And so what I'm going to do is install it from this direction, going towards me and then away from me, like that. And I'm going to put 3 wraps of thread tape on here. So once again, you put the thread tape on, and then you wrap it towards you and then away from you. All right, so once you've got your tape applied and you've got your threads cleaned off, then you can hand tighten this. You don't want to cross thread anything. All right, so after you've tightened that as much as you can, then you're going to want to use a wrench to tighten it further. Okay, should be good. So the other thing you want to do is pay attention to your propane bottle and making sure that that rubber gasket in there, that it's not deformed in any sort of way, because that can also cause a leak. Now finally, you're going to want to open up your propane and then turn on your appliances and just check to make sure that there's no sort of leaks in the system. You can apply some soapy water to the connections, and just to make sure that there's no bubbling happening at the connection points, and if not, you should be good. One other thing, and this is something you should probably check, you know, every camping trip, just to make sure that you have no sort of leaks with your propane system. So whether you use the soapy water trick to see if there's any sort of, you know, leaks, or just a smell test, or whatever you want to do, there are handheld portable propane or gas detectors that are pretty cheap. I think under $25, and you can just take that kind of leak detector and put it throughout your system, throughout your lines, and also inside of the trailers to make sure that there is no leaks. And that's just gives you a nice peace of mind. So you might also recognize that this is a dual propane tank regulator, but I only have a single propane tank on there, and this isn't mounted the way it was from the factory. So that actually might have contributed to this problem, because the hoses aren't quite hanging correctly. But my tow vehicle, it can't support 300 pounds. It can only support 250 pounds. So I had to remove one of the propane tanks. But yeah, I'll get that fixed sometime in the near future. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you soon.